Hey guys.
Hi everyone.
So today's video is going to be aimed at anyone travelling from the UK to Orlando to visit the theme parks for the very first time.
Yeah, so this is some ideas to help you before you go and whilst you're over there as well. Okay, so we first want to talk about what you should bring. So some essentials that you need to make sure to put in your case.
Okay, so first thing you're going to want to bring is sun cream because it gets really hot in Orlando.
And talking of the weather in Orlando, you're going to want to bring a rain poncho because one minute it could be really sunny, the next minute it's absolutely chucking it down.
Yeah, and one thing that I think we find really useful when we go are power banks as well, because they do have charging stations in some of the parks, but if you have your own, you don't have to worry about leaving it there and coming back and getting it. So bring some power banks.
Yeah, I mean, now that they've got a lot of things online, so you mobile ordering and checking the queue times at the parks, you're going to be draining your battery, so it's an essential.
So on an Orlando holiday, you're going to be walking miles and miles every day, so bring some comfortable shoes.
You're going to want to bring a backpack. It's going to be so convenient throughout the park. You can just shove everything in. And another thing you might want to bring is a fan, so a little portable fan. Again, just the humidity and just the heat, it will really help with that.
This section is going to be about the stuff you need to do to prepare for your holiday. First thing you want to do is buy an Ester. Definitely don't want to forget this one. So if you don't know, an Ester is kind of a visa for select countries to go and visit the United States, and they don't have to go through a whole process of, like, it's a really simple visa process. You basically just submit your details, pay a small fee. The timescales are on the website. We'll leave the link down below for the Ester website so you can check it out yourselves.
When you're packing, and this might sound a bit strange, but you're going to want to bring less than you think you might. So you're going to buy a lot while you're over there. There's so many malls and the merchandise at the parks. You're basically going to come back with a new wardrobe, along with many cups, just so many things. And if you go over the weight allowance on the plane, you can't bring it all back. You're going to have to leave some stuff. So just bear that in mind when you're actually packing your stuff to take out there. You're probably going to end up buying some t-shirts or clothes that you can wear for part of the holiday anyway.
If you've got certain favourite brands that you like, have a look to see whether they're cheaper in the United States than they are over here, because if they are, you may as well buy a ton of it over there. I do it with Levi's jeans all the time. I usually buy like 3 or 4 pairs of jeans. So check that out too.
Another thing you're going to want to do is buy your theme park tickets before you go. You're going to get a much better deal, and I think you can only get certain tickets online from these specific websites. So it is worth getting them before you go.
Yeah, 2 of the big vendors are Attraction Tickets Direct.
That sounds right.
And Florida Tix are 2 of the big ones. We tend to use Attraction Tickets Direct, but I'm not sure if there's any particular reason we do. It's just we know it.
Yeah, we'll leave the links down below if you want to check out what tickets they've got, but it is worth doing. It saves you queuing up on the day to get a park ticket when you could just be going into the park.
Okay, so next tip is more of a general tip for going on holiday, but you're going to want to plan what you want to do when you're over there. So you've got SeaWorld, Universal Orlando and Walt Disney World as well. You can't do every park to its full capacity in 2 weeks. It's just impossible. Even Walt Disney World alone, you can't cover that off in 2 weeks. You're going to want to take a close look at what you feel is right for you, if you're a Harry Potter fan or a Star Wars fan or a Disney fan, whatever, and kind of prioritize what you want to do based on that.
And we do also recommend making sure that you have some time to rest. It's such an action-packed holiday. We know you want to do absolutely everything, but you're just going to be exhausted. So if you can plan an afternoon, a couple of afternoons, maybe even a day where you're at maybe even a water park or around the pool, or maybe going to the mall, just getting a bit more of a chill than being at the parks, just to recharge some of your batteries.
Yeah, I think the way we like to do that is, and it's going to be different for everyone this, but we like to have our break mid-afternoon, so we might go and relax at the hotel pool or come back and chill out in the room, and we like to do that around between 4 o'clock and 6 o'clock usually, and that gives us a chance to recharge our batteries and go back to the parks later on, usually for Halloween Horror Nights.
So talking of Halloween Horror Nights, the different theme parks do have special events throughout the year. So Halloween Horror Nights runs from September through to the end of October, this year at least.
Yeah.
Don't think it's going into November. And then you've got things like Mardi Gras. Epcot do a lot of different festivals, Festival of the Arts, Food and Wine. And then you've got Christmas as well, where all the parks seem to do quite a big spectacular for Christmas.
Yeah, you definitely want to go and check out some of these special events and see if any of them in particular appeal to you. Okay, so another thing you're going to want to do is check out some of the busier times of the year. Especially if you're going as a family, you are restricted somewhat in when you can go. If you are able to have free reign of when you're going to go. Essentially, you're going to want to know the busy times of year. So we've jotted some down here. Okay, so some of the busier times are spring break / Easter break. You're also going to want to avoid the parks on Thanksgiving.
With that, you're going to get more of the locals coming down as well, so that just adds more to the crowds.
Yeah, we tend to go around September, October, which is lucky for us because the reason we go then is for Halloween Horror Nights, but it actually turns out to be quite a quiet time in the parks as well, so that's kind of lucky just after summer break. Christmas as well is also very busy, but if you want a Christmas holiday, there's not much you can really go and do about that. We'll leave a link down below for the crowd calendar from a website called Orlando Informer, which is one of Orlando's news agencies, and you can check out some of the busier times. They've got a lot of data based on like park attendance previous years and ticket sales and stuff, so yeah, that's the place to go.
And finally, we're going to move on to things that can help you while you're actually over there in Orlando. So one thing to know is if you are going to want to buy any alcohol, no matter what your age is, you are going to need some ID, and that is per person. So like I couldn't buy a drink for myself and for you. I'd have to make sure that you were here as well. So that's something to keep in mind.
Yeah, even if honestly, like we've seen people who look like 45, 50, 55, like get ID'd. Yeah, I can't overstate it enough, you need to take it. Yeah, some people have been sold very short. We've seen people get rejected from bars and stuff and have to go back to the hotel to get the passport. If
you don't want to take your passport around with you, make sure you've got your driver's license. That's the other ID that they'll accept.
I remember once we got ID'd in Disney Springs for a margarita, and I showed them my ID, and like, which was my passport, and they were like, oh, you need 2 forms of ID. Like, we ended up getting the drink, but like, I got into the country with this ID, like, it's not good enough for customs, like.
Disney Springs.
Yeah, so some places say you need 2 forms of ID, but if you've got your passport, you should be cool.
Yeah. So as we mentioned before, it does get very, very hot in Orlando, so you're going to need to stay hydrated. So you can either buy at certain parks a refillable cup, you can use that throughout, and you can also get free water from the parks as well. You just need to ask at the kiosks and they'll give you a cup of water. Even
if you don't necessarily feel very thirsty. Yeah, we've seen people like passed out on the side from heat exhaustion. Like it's real, like you just gotta stay hydrated.
I mean, going into the shops, just to sort of lead on from that as well, going into the shops, getting some air conditioning, the indoor rides to get the air conditioning, I'm just finding some shade. You're going to need those breaks from the sun.
Okay, so we can't offer any specific advice on getting a rental car out in Orlando because that's not the option that we choose. But we can say that with things like Uber, it is very easy to kind of get around all of the more popular tourist destinations in Orlando with relative ease, to be honest with you.
Yeah, and it's pretty cheap as well. We've found going, so we're normally based over at Universal, but to get to sort of Disney Springs, Disney World, the mall, it's relatively cheap to get around with Uber.
If the Uber pickup point isn't within the range of the Wi-Fi for the place that you're at. So we've been caught out with this at Florida Mall where we have to just kind of hope for the best, hope the driver stays there and just kind of run to the cab. It also happened at Disney Springs because the pickup point for Disney Springs is very far away from any Wi-Fi. So you've just got to place your faith in the map that you've got in front of you at the time and hope for the best. But other than that, like, using an Uber is absolutely fine.
And if you are staying on resort at Disney or Universal, they do have transportation to take you from the hotel to the park. So you don't need to worry about getting a taxi in that regard. For certain hotels, you can actually walk to the parks, but there are also buses, water taxis. At Disney, you've got like the Skyliner and monorail as well.
Yeah, both. If you're staying at Disney or Universal on site, they both got excellent options for getting around the kind of resort, effectively. Yeah, and those are just some of our kind of key tips and tricks that we like to use when we're planning our holiday and when we're out there.
And if you've got any other tips that you want to share, please do leave them in the comments below. It really helps our holiday and it'll help everyone else too.
Yeah, if you have liked this video, please do feel free to give us a big thumbs up.
And do subscribe to the channel for our future videos as well.
Thanks for tuning in, guys.
Thanks for watching.
Bye.
Bye.